Oh, that's bad. That'll look blurry. Happy Thursday, beautiful people. We are back from our sabbatical. Happy Thursday, beautiful people. It is July the 7th, 2022, day 152 of year 4, reading through the books of the law and the prophets. And of the 4-year consecutive day count, day 1170. Today, we're picking back up in the Oahspe in the book of Spencer Armish on page, I put 80? 283, in chapter 7. Put some comments on my lips. All right, y'all. So let's get this started. Father, here we are, accounted for, or present and accounted for on this Thursday morning, on our post, doing what we do every morning. All right, let's back a little bit. All right, beautiful people. Chapter 7, page 283. Ahura immediately, on his return to his kingdom, set about accomplishing this great labor. Now there were with Ahura many who had been sub-gods and captains and generals under him, while he was in rebellion against Jehovah and his kingdoms. And when they heard of the proclamation, they said within their souls, What is it possible Ahura is at his old games? Old games. Okay, let me go back. Let me just start over. Okay, so quick recap before I start over. Remember, the last portion of what we were reading, Ahura was talking to Spencer Armish, and she was letting him know, okay, it's time for you to go ahead and restore all the people you led astray. He was like, man, they ain't gonna believe me. She said, don't worry about that. We're gonna show you what to do. We're gonna help you, right? He said, but Jehovah, as he's called in this book or whatever, he spoke to him through Spencer Armish, saying that it's better that he go and bring his people up instead of Spencer Armish doing it. Because he was like, sis, you know you could just come and go do this. He said, nope, that's not how this works. Because if we put her there, then they're going to lose all the rest of the respect that they have for you. And it's better that you go, right? She can help from afar, but it's better that you go and lead these people and build this confidence back up and lead them in the truth. This kind of nutshell, right? Okay. So I start over. Joy. Shalom. Say shalom. Okay. Starting back at verse 1. We only got to almost to the end of verse 2. All right. Chapter 7. Book of Spencer Armish, daughter of Jehovah, page 283 at the top. Ahura, immediately on his return to his kingdom, set about accomplishing this great labor. Now, there were with Ahura many who had been sub-gods and captains and generals under him, whilst he was in rebellion against Jehovah and his kingdoms. And when they heard of the proclamation, they said within their souls, What? Is it possible Ahura is at his old games? For they knew not his concert with the kingdoms above, and so believed not in his power. Jehovah moved upon Ahura and induced him to send numerators and graders throughout his kingdom, to take the measure of those who had faith and those who had no faith, and those who had neither faith nor non-faith. And these Ahura graded and numbered, so when the time came, he should know where to place them. Then he numbered and he graded them and arranged them also. When he had this much accomplished, there came to him one Anuhasaj. Yeah, when he had this much accomplished, there came to him one Anuhasaj, a former sub-god, and he said to Ahura privily, I love thee, Ahura, and for that reason come before thee. Thou shalt meet only failure and disaster in thy undertaking. How many times in thy mighty kingdom of Cetus did the All-High fail to come to thee? Ahura said, because of thy love I rejoice in thee, but because of thy lack in faith I deplore thee. How long will it be before angels and mortals understand the Father and his kingdom? Behold, in the days of Cetus I labored not for Jehovah, but for myself and my exaltation, and for the exaltation of my kingdom for mine own ends. Hence the All High came not to answer my prayers. Now in this matter I am doing that which is not for me, nor for my kingdom for my own sake, but for the Father's sake only. And I know he will not fail me. Anuhasaj said, hath it not been from the time of the ancients till now that certain ones say that by prayer and faith all things are possible, assuring us, moreover, that by such are all things accomplished on earth and in heaven? And yet, who hath not witnessed more failure than success? I do not desire to discourage thee, O Ahura, but I know so well the lack of faith on the part of all men that to get oneself weaned away from self is the weakest talent in the soul. Ooh, that's good. I got to under highlight rather what the new Hasaj said. I do not desire to discourage thee, O Ahura, but I know so well the lack of faith on the part of all men, and that to get one's self weaned away from self is the weakest talent in the soul, and for which reason too it is ultimately the greatest glory. But this would seem to me expedient to have Spenta Armige and her host do this resurrection for thee. He late. He late to the party. Jehovah then already told him it's better that she don't do this. He's trying to come in the back door and flip stuff around, but he didn't know he wasn't there. And for which reason too, it is ultimately the greatest glory. But this would seem to me to be expedient to have Spenta Armige and her host do this resurrection for thee. Ahura said, even thine every glory, I'm sorry, Ahura said, even thine every thought have I already fulfilled, and through the chieftainess came the Father's voice, commanding me to do this resurrection on my own account. Tell him, Ahura. Tell him you're trying to get right and leave you alone. To this, Anuhasaj made no reply, but in his soul he was not free from the tetrarchs, being jealous that Ahura had advanced him in obtaining the Father's commands. But Ahura perceived it not, and he said unto Anuhasaj, the hosts of Elkin have been numbered, and there are 4,500 million. And within the graves above Essene, there are 170,000 schools, 230,000 colleges, 400,000 factories, and 200,000 hospitals. Speaking of this, I don't know if you're here yet, but Oahspe College University, I finally opened up the email. There is actually a chart of the number of schooling years that it takes for the different levels and grades. I'm going to share that. I'm going to post it in the community section so y'all can see that. And it gives you the reference at the bottom of the charts where to find it here in Oahspe. We read over it. It's in the book of Divinity, but you'll see. Behold, on the day of it, what you look for, babe?
Well, that's my tall water where you water can.
Right here.
No, you know what I'm saying? Well, I put my water that you bought me.
You put the coldest water bottle?
Yeah. Right?
Yes. The white one.
Oh, thanks, babe.
You're welcome. Behold, on the day of resurrection, I shall have the hand old watcher. Handle watcher. Behold, on the day of resurrection, I shall have the handled watcher recreation for my host. Let this then be thy labor, to have the matter proclaimed throughout Elton. A new Hassaj. Trina, hey girl, hey. Great spirit, peace and blessings. Peace and blessings.
Hold on, man. How come ain't no ice in there?
Because I poured it all out yesterday. The kids got those little mini things of ice cream. And they got it right after we got Jeremiah's car and we stopped at the gas station, but it was in Newport News. And they didn't grab spoons. So they let it sit for the whole ride back, and it halfway melted. And instead of just sticking it in the bottom part of the freezer, when I came and looked, they had stuck all of theirs in the ice thing. Now all the ice had mint chocolate chip ice cream.
In there? Why is it not falling in there?
It is.
You just threw it away yesterday?
Yeah. I mean, I guess it is a little slow moving.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I dumped it all out.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, because it was ice cream ice. Okay. Verse 9. Behold, on the day of resurrection, I shall have the Hanowacha recreation for my host. Let this then be thy labor, to have the matter proclaimed throughout Elkin. Anuhasaj said, by Jehovah's leave and thine, I am satisfied. Thus ended the matter, and Ahura remembered afterward that Anuhasaj had not answered positive acceptance, and so Ahura feared, and to make doubly sure, even Everson, I'm sorry, let me read the verse over. Thus ended the matter, and Ahura remembered afterward that Anuhasaj had not answered positive acceptance, and so Ahura feared, and to make doubly sure, called Everson and committed the same charge unto him. Uncle JB, shalom, mom, shalom, shalom. Now the time came, lo and behold, Anuhasaj fulfilled not his part, but Everson did. And Everson, moreover, all right, let it try to say. And Everson, moreover, came to Ahura, bringing answers from all the departments. In the morning of the day of the resurrection, Ahura sent for Anuhasaj and inquired concerning the matter. Anuhasaj said, nay, I issued not thy proclamation nor thy invitation, for I reason on the matter, saying to myself, if the resurrection be a failure, then would it indeed be better that the ignorant know not of it. Ahura said, to do well one's own part, is this not the highest? Anuhasaj said, it is the highest. Even so have I done that which seemeth highest in mine own sight. Ahura said, the resurrection was not for thee nor for me, but for the host. For thou hast previously admitted that the resurrection of this plateau was the highest, best thing to be done. Because it seemed impractical in thy sight, thou wert not justified with withholding thy hand. Thou shouldst have striven to accomplish that which was for the universal good, not even whispering thy distrust to anyone. Highlight that. That was good. He said you should have did it anyway. Even if you didn't believe, you should have did it. Because that would have been the good of all people, not just for you. You didn't do it because you didn't think it was good for you and you didn't believe. Let me read it again. Hold on. Verse 10. No, I'm sorry. I went all the way down to the bottom, but we are in chapter 7 in Book of Spencer Armige. Hopping back to page 284, down to verse 13. Ahura said, to do well one's own part, is this not the highest? Anuhasaj said, it is the highest. Even so have I done that which seemed the highest in mine own sight. Ahura said, the resurrection was not for thee nor for me, but for the host. For thou had previously admitted that the resurrection of this plateau was the highest, best thing to be done. Because it seemed impractical in thy sight, thou wert not justified in withholding thy hand. Thou wouldst have striven to accomplish that which thou shouldst have striven to accomplish that which was for the universal good, not even whispering thy distrust to anyone. Then, had it failed, thine own soul had been clear. For which reason Jehovah came to me, and I was admonished to depute Everson in thy stead, and he hath fulfilled my commands. Anuhasaj made no reply, but went away in displeasure, and for the present the matter was dismissed. Ahura had sent invitations to the lords of all the divisions of the earth, asking them to come, bringing their attendants with them. Of these, the following came to wit: Owa, lord of Hijetsi; Hakapa, lord of Paradise; Lugam, lord of Remij; Jesse, lord of Spita; Ami, lordess of Kazman; Horam, lord of Flu; and Sutsi, lordess of Sinyat, each bringing 1,000,000 attendants, besides hundreds of thousands of visitors of lower grade. Spencer Armige with her visitors, Ox and Siwagan, and Heowa, and 5,000,000 attendants and 5 and 30,000,000 visitors from Creoshavy came in an avalanza for the purpose. Francis, shalom. The place of removal which Ahura had decided to inherit was in the second belt below Meteoris, known in atmosphere at that time as Vara Pish Hanaha. Vara-Pish Hanaha, which lay betwixt the land of Vidiu and the star region known as the horse and the cow and calf pastures, a heavenly place uninhabited. From Elkin to Vara-Pish Hanaha was 14 hours in grade 25, which was the average of Ahura's host, but its enlargement in the upper belt would be as 15 to 9. Spencer Armige and her hosts were the first to arrive in Ahura's dominion, for she had determined that nothing should lead to failure in Ahura's enterprise. Through her advice, Ahura stationed water bearers the entire distance of travel, lest in the excitement the Druhas might run into knots or riot. For such is the nature of darkness, both on earth and in the lower heavens. The low delight to dwell in a city or near a place of filth, if companionable, rather than to go to a place of isolation where improvement is impossible. Oh, I don't know why I just thought about crack houses when I read this. And then rehab, the place to get free. Let me read this again. Verse 19. Spencer Armige and her hosts were the first to arrive in Ahura's dominion, for she had determined that nothing should lead to failure in Ahura's enterprise. Through her advice, Ahura stationed water bearers the entire distance of travel, lest in the excitement the Druhas might run into knots or riot. For such is the nature of darkness, both on earth and in the lower heavens. The low delight to dwell in a city or near a place of filth, if companionable, rather than go to a place of isolation where improvement is possible. Jehovah had said to Ahura, "Suffer not thy Druhas to know thou wilt remove them so far from the earth. Confide thou only with the wise in reference to thy destiny." Spencer Armige had said to Ahura, "Provide thy Druhas a holiday in parade with rites and ceremonies." And Ahura perceived how the matter had to be, and he apportioned 80,000,000 of his hosts to provide parades, rites, and ceremonies for the Druhas of his hosts. And of these Druhas, ranking below grade 5, there were 1,200 million, being such angels as knew not the left hand from the right, nor could remember to count 5 from one day, nor could remember to count 5 from one day to the next. And yet the next 1,000,000,000, rating below grade 12, knew so little more, they were scarcely wiser than the beasts of the field. Tiffany, Sawubona Yaya. Spencer Armige, seeing these, exclaimed, "O Jehovah, how long must Ahura labor with these in order to raise them to grade 99? Oh, that they who were Oh, that they who set themselves up as gods knew what lay before them. Oh, that leaders of men knew. Oh, that mortal kings and queens knew the bondage that they lay down for themselves. What a work in the lower heavens for them before they can ascend. Mm, I like that. Listen, for all those that's leading multiple people astray, knowingly and unknowingly. Listen, they said, oh, if they only knew what great work they had ahead of them before they could ascend. You got to take all this mess. You ain't coming up here and you done left a mess down here. Go clean it up. Go help clean it up. You help mess it up, go clean it up. We'll be here waiting for you when you're done. And we checking too. Don't come tell us it's done in the day because we come checking. Listen. Verse 21. Spencer Armitage, seeing these, exclaimed, O Jehovah, how long must Ahura labor with these in order to raise them to grade 99? Oh, that they who set themselves up as gods knew what lay before them. Oh, that leaders of men knew. Oh, that mortal kings and queens knew the bondage that they lay down for themselves. What a work in the lower heavens for them before they can ascend. And yet, O Jehovah, thou art just. Someone must labor with these unfortunates. It is well that man aspireth to be a king and Lord and God. Chapter 8, page 286 in the book of Spencer Armitage, daughter of Jehovah in Oahspe. When they were assembled for the resurrection, the thousands of millions, Spencer Armitage went and stood at the right hand of Ahura, and next to her stood Ox, and on the left hand stood Siwagan and Heoah. And the voice of Jehovah fell upon Ahura, saying, Extend my lines to the four corners of the world. Give into my labor the highest grades. Accordingly, the marshals drew the line on the plateau, and the host of Ethera stood equally toward every corner, arranging the phalanxes of 10 million, each having the form of a quarter of a circle, leaving the lines of power from center to circumference, and the distance therefore was equal to the width of Vidu on the corporal earth. And the center of the plateau was high raised, so that Ahura stood on the highest place, which lay near the capital of the council. Now it so happened that the jealous Anuhasaj stood 12th, 1-2, on the east line, being the 13th from Ahura's left hand. Spencer Armitage said to Ahura, Behold, the line is shattered. Ahura said, I feel nothing. How sayest thou the line is shattered? She answered him, saying, He who doeth Jehovah's work must deal as Jehovah dealeth. Only those who are in concert with thee must labor with thee. Otherwise, thy best endeavors will be thwarted. Mm. It's a broken link in your chain, bro. He said, How say you? She said, There's a broken link in your chain. You need to figure it out. She knew. He didn't know. Everybody that's laboring with you need to be on the same page as you. Otherwise, all that you're working for is going to be messed up. Arranging their phalanx. Is that how it read? Let me go back. Arranged in phalanxes. Is that how you say phalanxes? I'm just sounding it out the way it looks. It says, let me go back. I'll just read it over. Tiffany, verse 2. Accordingly, the marshals drew the line on the plateau, and the host of Ethera stood equally toward every corner, arranged in phalanxes of 10 million, each having the form of a quarter of a circle, leaving the lines of power from center to circumference, and the distance thereof was equal to the width of Vidu on the corporal earth. And the center of the plateau was high raised, so that Ahura stood on the highest place, which lay near the capital of the council. Now it so happened that the jealous Anuhasaj stood 12th on the east line, being the 13th from Ahura's left hand. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay. I got you, Tiffany. Now it so happened that the jealous Anuhasaj stood 12th on the east line, being the 13th from Ahura's left hand. Spencer Armij said to Ahura, "Behold, the line is shattered." Ahura said, "I feel nothing. How sayest thou, the line is shattered?" She answered him, saying, "He who doeth Jehovah's work must deal as Jehovah dealeth. Only those who are in concert with thee must labor with thee. Otherwise, thy best endeavors will be thwarted." Listen, and I know I highlighted it and I was just about to go on, but I just wanted to make a little comment about something, right? It's like where it's like the verse in it's Amos. Ooh, stretch. Whew, okay. Where two or three are gathered together in my name, there I am in the midst. Right. So my husband and I noticed that if we're trying to accomplish something and we're at odds with one another or we don't agree on something in particular, we won't advance in that particular thing, right? Jed, shalom, grand rising. um if we're not in complete agreement about a thing, it just will not happen. It'll just take super long. It took us a whole long time to figure that out. Like Bella said, it's taking a long day. And so when we realize that, the quicker we began to get in agreement with one another, and things will begin to happen just like that. And that's something that we try to well, not try, we do teach our children, especially when you get married. Because your family, all of your family should be on the same page. And if y'all, and it starts from the head down, right? It has to process at the head and filter out to the rest of the body. And the head and the family, which would be the husband and the wife, if they're not in complete agreement on what's going to happen, the whole family just kind of falls away, right? It's in chaos and they don't know what to do. Remember, all the processing and everything happens in the brain. And if the heads are not getting it together, and the right brain and the left brain don't come together and sync up, you're just standing there, right? It's like y'all standing back to back trying to go in different directions when y'all need to figure out which direction we want to go right now. Which way is we going so we can both turn in that direction? We want to go this way. Well, I'm looking this way, you looking this way. Come on, let's get here and let's proceed, right? Listen, I'm gonna read verse 3 again. Now it so happened that the jealous Anuhasaj stood 12th on the east line, being the 13th from Ahura's left hand. Spencer Armij said to Ahura, "Behold, the line is shattered." Now I'm gonna have to start using that. Look, the line is shattered. When I see people going in different directions and they supposed to be on the same page. Look, that's good. The same thing with Gideon and his army in 300, right? Listen, your line is shattered, bro. You got too many people. Half believing, no, you got a quarter unbelieving, the other uh three quarters is not believing. You got to cut this down, bro. The line is shattered. Now it so happened that the jealous Anuhasaj stood 12th on the east line, being the 13th from Ahura's left hand. Spencer Armij said to Ahura, "Behold, the line is shattered." That's our title for the day. Ahura said, "I feel nothing. How sayest thou, the line is shattered?" She answered him, saying, "He who doeth Jehovah's work must deal as Jehovah dealeth. Only those who are," and she said that, and then she just kind of gave an example on what that is, which is the same exact thing. And those that's going to labor with you got to be in concert and agreement with the labor that you're doing so it can get done. Otherwise, it's all going to go to pot. She answered him, saying, "He who doeth Jehovah's work must deal as Jehovah dealeth. Only those who are in concert with thee must labor with thee. Otherwise, thy best endeavors will be thwarted. Ahura said, "O thou far perceiving goddess, in my much love and sympathy, I admitted a new Hasaj to the lines. He hath been my best friend." Ain't it always the closest to you? Like, you sure you wanna? It's always them that cast in a little bit of doubt. Audrey, shalom, says shalom, shalom. And because they do really mean well, right? They really do. Man, I grew with you since you was yay high. What you mean, bruh? This is how we all. It's you just always got to watch, but it's always the closest ones to you, right? Listen. O thou far perceiving goddess, in my much love and sympathy, I admitted Anuhasaj to the lines. He hath been my best friend. Spencer Armitage said, "Thou shalt know but one friend, Jehovah." I don't even need to tell y'all, that's highlight worthy. Thou shalt know but one friend, Jehovah. Ahura perceived, and now he felt the shattered place, and he sent his chief marshal to Anuhasaj to bring him from the rank. And when Anuhasaj was before Ahura, the latter said unto him, "Because thou servest thyself, thou shalt not stand in line. Behold, there is but one to serve, even Jehovah." Anuhasaj said, "A joy upon thee and thy scheme, because thou art powerless, thou hast singled me out as an excuse before these gods and goddesses." Ahura made no answer, but spake before Jehovah, saying, "Give me strength for thy children's sake, O Father." Who, Lord, give me strength. That's what he did. Listen, I'll read it again. I'll read verse 5 again. Ahura perceived, and he now felt the shattered place, and he sent his chief marshal to Anuhasaj to bring him from the rank. And when Anuhasaj was before Ahura, the latter said unto him, "Because thou servest thyself, thou shalt not stand in line. Behold, there is but one to serve, even Jehovah." Anuhasaj said, "A joy upon thee and thy scheme, because thou art powerless, thou hast singled me out as an excuse before these gods and goddesses." Ahura made no answer, but spake before Jehovah, saying, "Give me strength for thy children's sake, O Father. Behold, I have cut loose the foundations of Elkin. I have cut loose the foundations of Elkin with high extending cords. I have bound her to Vara Pish Hanaha." That's got to be in the title today, too. Just because it's fun to say. Vara Pish Hanaha. "By virtue of thy power in me, I will raise her up. In thy name, in thy name, let my host in will commit." My host in will. What? "In thy name, let my host in will command, arise, upward, onward, O Elkin, arise, upward, onward, O Elkin, arise, upward, onward, O Elkin." With the third enunciation, which came from the thousands of millions in concert, behold, the plateau moved from her foundation, turned a little, then slowly upward rose. Loud shouted all the inhabitants of that heaven. With their own universal will, the great spirit stretched forth his hand and raised up the heavenly continent. Oh, how exciting that would have been after all these years of us thinking this was the only place we moving. Bruh, imagine the shouts going from there. Listen. With the third enunciation, which came from the thousands of millions in concert, behold, the plateau moved from her foundation, turned a little, then slowly upward rose. Loud shouted all the inhabitants of that heaven. With their own universal will, the great spirit stretched forth his hand and raised up the heavenly continent. Even as with his hand he touched a corporal continent and sendeth it beneath the ocean, so raised he his heavenly places toward his emancipated worlds. Yea, because of his spirit upon his people, they desire it risen. With them and him, all is one. That was amazing, right? Listen, let me just read verse 7 again. With the third enunciation of arise, upward, onward, O Elkin, with the third enunciation which came from the thousands of millions in concert, behold, the plateau moved from her foundation, turned a little, then slowly upward rose. Loud shouted all the inhabitants of that heaven. With their own universal will, the great spirit stretched forth his hand and raised up the heavenly continent, even as with his hand he touched a corporal continent, which was Pan, and sendeth it beneath the ocean, so he raised his heavenly places toward his emancipated worlds. Yea, because of his spirit upon his people, they desire it risen, and with them and him all is one. And now the gods with unbroken will held their places as it were a day for the corporal earth, and not a god or goddess from the single purpose and thought strayed a moment of time, no distracting thought intervening. Let me just start it over. Verse 8. And now the gods with unbroken will held their places as it were a day for the corporal earth, and not a god or a goddess from the single purpose and thought strayed a moment of time, and no distracting thought intervening, for such is the will and mastery of gods over their own thoughts. Even then, to keep up the concerted force joyously, those who had the Druhas in charge set the games and tournaments going with racing and music, leave such as should leave not one idle moment for all the hosts of Elkin, nearly 5,000 million. And you know what they did? You know how they tell you with children, because children sometimes can move around like Drew House and beetles and stuff. They all over the place. Listen, you know how people have different ways of stretch y'all. People have different ways of disciplining people, right? And so, what I found to be one of the best ways, sometimes you need to put a little bit of fire to the backside, right? That's just for the stubbornness and the stubborn willed child, right? But we rarely try to go in that direction. But what I found to be the greatest source of motivation, where you don't have to constantly holler and yell at your kids, is exactly what they're doing here with the Drew Haas. It's called the rewards system, right? I figured this out a little bit late. Well, we figured this out a little bit late. When the kids don't get their room clean, and I have to tell them multiple times to pick their stuff up, I'm like, you know what? I'm sick of all this hollering and screaming. I said I won't gonna be this hollering screaming mama. Sometimes I don't be losing my voice, but that's a little bit exaggeration. But I'm like, I'm having to repeat myself way too much. I was like, they dare to come in and look, and they jump, and he looked like he about to look at them, and they just, yes, father, yes, whatever you say, father, yes, sir. Would you like your slippers as well? I will bring you some cookies, and I'll warm up some. I'm like, little Reggie, I done told you 15 million dozen 11 times to pick your shoes up and take them in your room and get them, sweep them crumbs up off the floor and wipe that milk up off. I'm like, you know what? Y'all better treat me with the same darn respect you treat your daddy. Look. So I was like, I gotta get smart about this. I'm like, why these little Reggies ain't listening? Probably because, you see it. I can't say that. I just seen it both ways. Because some mamas, they got like that fierce, stern look like the daddy's got, and the kids don't play. Yes, mother. Yes. Don't worry about it. We will handle it. You go rest, put your feet up. We're bringing your slippers. We're cooking you a hot meal, right? And some mamas just like got that look, like my grandma, right? I was like, I need to get my whole life together. Okay, what can I do? You know what? So I thought about this reward system, right? At first, I used to think it was a joke. I'm like, you better tell them kids to get their tail and you're gonna whoop their tails, right? So I'm like, you know what? Sometimes they can tend to grow immune to whippings, right? Not say that, you should, because I don't want to get banned and stuff, right? But sometimes you sport a rod, you spare the rod, you sport a child. I have found that to be the absolute truth. But listen, here's what I decided to do. Now my 19-year-old, probably 17 at the time, because I probably started implementing it a couple years ago. Now he didn't quite catch on, right? So I'm like, okay, y'all don't want to clean up. And Jeremiah be like, didn't mom tell y'all? And they ignoring Jeremiah too. He said, Mom, you better go whip their butts. I was like, no, 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 no. Mm-mm. Let them do what they're gonna do. Bella included. I'm like, I know what to do. They're gonna be hungry in a little while. I was like, if a man don't work, he don't eat. Neither does his little sister. Y'all don't want to clean the room? Fine. That is absolutely okay. Don't clean the room. But I'm cooking dinner. Right? Mom, get out of my kitchen. You got the room clean? No. They want to sit and cry and pout. They'll get hungry enough. You don't eat till that room is clean, right? So I'm like, this can be part of the reward system. I ain't gonna holler and scream. You just don't eat until it gets done. Go do what I asked you to do. And I gotta raise my voice, right? and to train them because they're small and they like to sneak in and stuff. This may be a little overkill for some people. You may not do it, but because I had so many of them and we didn't have a lock and a door on our kitchen, I had to buy locks for the refrigerator and a deep freezer. Of course, when company come over, I removed the locks and everything because it looked like it, they just don't look too kosher. Why you got food locked up? Like locking up the pantry and everything. Because if I go upstairs, they will sneak into the kitchen and pull out the food, and that thwarts my whole plan. So I had to keep some kind of control. So I bought locks, not just the child safety locks, but little padlocks with keys. And you know I kept the keys at because I got smart. The kitchen keys, I call them the kitchen keys. I had to start keeping my kitchen keys because they figure it out. You always got one in the group that's gonna figure it out on we're gonna plot on mama's plan and we're gonna eat today. We ain't gonna clean the room, but we're gonna eat, right? You always got one in a bunch. And they always sending Isaiah because Isaiah the fighter, he gonna sneak in there, he gonna pull it out. He's a lot stealthier than the other Bigfoot stomping children, right? So he gonna get in there and get them. So you know what I had? I I used to hide the keys in the cabinet on the top shelf. So one day somebody caught me slipping and they seen me put them there, right? But I didn't see them see me, right? Then I began to notice they started. I'm like, I know I had something is missing. I know I didn't open these boxes of snack cakes, but the box of snack cakes had been opened and turned around backwards like they hadn't been opened. And you pick up a light box, but there was no paper around. Like y'all was smart enough to leave the box in there looking like it hadn't been opened, but you weren't smart enough to realize that the box is empty. I mean, they had got rid of the plastic paper wrappers and everything. Like everything looked to be okay, right? So I'm like, you know what? Somebody done found them keys and nobody wanted to rat on anybody. So I had to start keeping my kitchen keys. I felt like a warden walking through my house while I'm trying to get my own kids under control, stay out the kitchen. They need to get their room clean, right? Because I'm sick of cleaning up after y'all. Y'all old enough to do it yourself. I had to take my kitchen keys, buy a little hook, and I snapped it on my bra strap and put it inside my shirt. Do you know these regents tried to pull the keys off my bra strap while I dozed off one day? When I tell you my kids, yo, I'm about to cold cock Isaiah. I was just trying to get the keys. I know you was. Try it again. I'm gonna take your hand off, right? So, but from then I had to make sure that kids will go at all types of lengths to get what they want. When they realized I wasn't playing, and I told they did about it. So when they did, it got on them. They was like, "Yes, Father, we're sorry, Mother. We would never do that again." I'm like, "I'm gonna get you, boy. I'm gonna get you." Right? Look, so that's the whole reward system, right? Oh yeah, do what you want. But when it's time to eat, I controls this. This is my laboratory. Step in here if you want to, and your stuff ain't done, right? I don't lock it up now. It's been about 2 years. It's set in a little bit, right? But I did yesterday have to confiscate all these switches because they started to get a little lax. I know we ain't moved furniture in yet, but still, y'all got all this stuff up here in this loft. You think I'm playing? Everybody. And I got my lockbox. Everybody switch. Bella's too. Give me the chargers, give me the controllers, all the little contraptions we done bought you for it, put it in here, right? You got to give them something so you got something to take away, right? I'm the queen of taking away. Girl, Tiffany, look. Okay, look. So that's what you call the reward system, which is exactly what they're using here in the Drew House. Oh yeah, fun games. You got to make them want this, right? Give them something to look forward to. Remember at the beginning when I think it was Apollo's host and everything. They were they came in flaunting they gold and jewelry and all this stuff. It's like, oh no, y'all take all of this. Give us white robes, sheets. We want none of that stuff because we want what you got. Okay, what we got to do? It's a whole reward system. They just played it to the T. When I tell you that works, yo, it works, and it works with little children. You ain't got to be whipping them and hollering and screaming all the time. Just get a little creative. Think about what it is they love. If they love, I mean, all kids love to eat, but if you got snacks and stuff, I ain't saying bribe. That's probably a bad habit to start. Don't bribe them with snacks and stuff, but something that they like, right? And also, Another one, real quick, before we go. Going out in public, oh, you ain't gonna embarrass me out in public. I promise you. So you know what we did? Because it's a whole bunch of them. And I started this about 2 years ago too. Because they tend to get a little rowdy, especially when you go to the grocery store. That's why I didn't like to take all of them to the grocery store. Mom, can I have this? Can I have this? Can I have this? So I was like, you know what? I gave them the talk. And I knew they was gonna try me, which is why I set up ahead of time at least 3 instances where I could just boom, tell them we going somewhere. And if you arguing, you fighting in the car, or we get out and you start arguing once we get and you're not following directions, you want to take off and run around this store, we all getting back in the car, in the truck, and we're going home. Oh, they tried me, right? We're gonna go to the water park at the Y. But first, I need to run to the store and make some groceries. When we go in this store, y'all better act like y'all got some sense. The first person that dart off and run around, you move from behind my car. I swear for Bob, we not going to the water park, right? I said one, mess it up for all. It's the same thing they do in boot camp. You get one, get in trouble, you got a hard head, the whole division drop. They used it, and that's when I realized this. I'm like, yo, they are using this process, this rewards and have this discipline process all over. I say, and it really works because one bad apple will spoil the bunch. You leave a rotten apple in a bag of apples, it will infect all the apples. Not just with apples, with potatoes, with onions, with anything, with strawberries. One bad one will destroy the entire bunch. So when that one mess up, you first address that one, right? When everybody else seeing that one, oh, y'all didn't let them know, everybody in trouble, right? So of course they tried me, went to the store, and it's always the ringleader, the one that like to fight. Isaiah don't want to listen. He starts saying, I'm gonna go to the candy, I'll be back. Hey, no, because as soon as he started running, Bella took off running. Absolutely not. Let's go right now. And we're not going to the water park. What, mom? No, I just no, 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 pushing it. And I knew they was gonna do it, which is why I wanted to. I kind of pushed them towards it so we can just have a real big blowout. I really wasn't going to make groceries for real. This was just a test run so they can feel that I'm serious. And we walked in the store and we actually came in on the aisle where I knew the candy was at, and I knew they was gonna do it. Somebody was gonna start asking for something. I needed to just put it all out there, right? This was so fun for me. Let's go right now. Mom, no, no. I already told y'all. Y'all need to act like y'all got sense when we come to the store. I said, because what if this was a life and death situation? I said, everybody shut up, but y'all still want to run off at the mouth. Your talking could have got all us shot, right? And they like, and so I like to use stuff like that just to get them to think. I was like, nope, let's go. So of course they pouting and they crying. Oh, we can't go to the water. I said, no, not today. Maybe we'll try it again tomorrow. Mom, we're sorry. Let's just go back in the store. We promise we'll hold on to the cart. I was like, no. Oh, you had your one chance. I gave y'all the whole spiel before we even went into the store, and you still tried it. So no, we're going home today. We'll try it again tomorrow, right? Listen. Next day, I didn't have to do the spiel. Josh and Saya did the spiel. Isaiah and Bella, y'all better keep y'all hands on the cart. Matter of fact, Bella, you get in the cart. Isaiah, you better hold on to the cart. And I don't care if we do pass the candy aisle. Don't even look down the aisle. We want to go to the water park. If you mess it up for us, we're going to beat you up. I was cracking up. I said, first of all, you ain't gonna put your hands on them, but we want to go to the water park. I said, well, y'all want to go to the water park, but y'all need to act like y'all got some common sense while we out here, because I would not look like that parent that don't know how to control her children in public. I said, you know how embarrassing that is, so I'm telling y'all, you just got to get a little bit creative, especially if you got a whole tribe. It's a complete mess if you go out in public and all your kids all over like, we talk about people like that. Ain't nobody gonna talk about us, right? Let me tell you, when we go, oh, look, another thing, just in case y'all got little kids. Every time we go out to eat as a big family, we always get compliments. First of all, they look at us when we come in, you got all the, oh, y'all got a daycare? It's funny. When my husband take the kids, well, before we moved, the basketball court for the school that was right across the street, when my husband used to take them over there, not basketball, the tennis court. When he used to take them over there to play tennis and everything, they used to ask him, like, "Oh, you have a child care or you work at a daycare?" And he's like, "Ma'am, these are all my children." Oh, that's good. You out here spending time with your children, right? It's we get so many kind of crazy comments because of the amount of kids we have and how little they are. It's hilarious. But when we go out to restaurants, they first look at us. Oh Lord, here come a whole audience. It's gonna be loud in here. But the waitresses, waiters, the people sitting around the table, that we always get compliments. Your children are so well behaved. You better know it. See, here's what we also know. When we go to big restaurants, I say we got to do what they do in school, babe. You wonder why that the kindergartners and the first graders, they only get a 20-minute lunch? That's all the time you need to give them to eat. If you give them 21 minutes, they're going to start talking and it's going to be complete chaos in the room. So that's why it's like silent lunch, eat, let's go. Table two, we got to do that when we go to restaurants, right? So we got to wait till they real hungry. Then we go in, everybody sit here or come with me, and they sit there nice and quiet. 20 minutes up, they done eating. We tested it. We said, like, watch this. Let's stay just a little bit longer. What they do? They want to get the paper towels, the napkins, and throw them at each other, being all out. Stop it. Let's go right now. Why didn't finish? No, absolutely not. You will not make us look like those type of parents out here. It's time to go. Leave the ice cream on the table. It's time to go. Same process. It works. So when y'all go out to eat, if y'all kids rowdy, y'all spending too much time sitting there talking amongst yourselves. Get in there, eat, get out of there. So you can get compliments on how well behaved your children are. We walking out like, oh my God, if they only knew. So those things you got to think about. It's the same little process. Who yet? 51 minutes. Okay. That's just to let you know our theory on how we kind of keep this tribe under control. All right, listen. Verse 8. And now the gods, with unbroken will, held their places as it were a day for the corporal earth, and not a god or goddess from the single purpose and thought strayed a moment of time, and no distracting thought intervening, for such is the will and mastery of gods over their own thoughts. Even then, to keep up the concerted force joyously, and here it is, even then, to keep up the concerted force joyously, those who had the Druhas in charge set the games and tournaments going with racing, music, and such as should not leave one idle moment for all the hosts of Elkin, nearly 5,000 million. Upward and onward rose the great plateau, making straight course for Vara Pish Hanaha. Ahura stood in the eyes of the unlearned populace as the greatest and most masterly of all the gods. One alone, even Anu Sahaj, stood a while transfixed with disappointment and chagrin, even hoping some mishap to Jehovah's proceedings. And finally, he went wandering about, sore and out of sorts with all righteousness. Thus was raised the heavenly place, and no longer called Elkin, but Vara Pishanaha, home of Ahura and his hosts. And now they were securely established in the place, and the gods and goddesses broke from line. They all came greeting Ahura. And even in the same moment of time, a messenger came from God who was with Brahma on the corporal earth, bringing to Spinta Armige the following commandment by proxy, to wit: in Jehovah's name, give thou a throne and crown to Ahura for me, and in my name. I promise him thus. The light came upon Spencer Armige, and Jehovah spake through her, saying, Behold the work of my hand. Behold the work of my hand, O Ahura, my son. In the substance of heaven fashion I thee a throne and high-raised capital, and with mine own hands weave thee a crown. From this time forth thou shalt be my God, and I will abide with thee. Whilst the words were being spoken, the throne rose up before Spencer Armige's hand, and a high raised capital came and stood over and about the throne. And there descended from the heavens above bowls of light and color, which in Spencer Armige's fingers were shaped and woven into a crown, which alighted on Ahura's head. And there went up from the host a universal shout of praise and thanksgiving. Then broke in trumpeters. Then broke in trumpeters 7,000,000. And after they played a while, the Essenars chanted the concerted host of Jehovah. Thus was founded Jehovah's heavenly kingdom, Vara Pishanaha. Thus established Ahura his dominions, where rebellion and secession were cut off forever. And Spencer Armige gave to Ahura 1,000 messengers and opened a roadway to Creoshavie. Ahura ascended his throne, and the gods and goddesses saluted him, God of Vara Pishanaha, and they and their attendants departed to their several places. And that is the end of chapter 8. Where we at? We at 55 minutes. I think we'll read one more chapter and we'll be done for the day. We'll end at the end of chapter 9. Oh, and I think I said, but just in case I didn't, when I started the whole rewards thing, when I realized that until you get your room clean, well, when they realized that I was serious about not eating until their rooms were clean, it worked like a champ. Same thing. You just got to give them something to look forward to. Even if that means you got to wait them out a little bit till they get tired, right? Just take away stuff or give it to them when they got it done. I'm telling you, it works like a champ, especially with the younger children, especially with Bella. And she don't want to clean her stuff up or clean up after herself. You just got to find something she really care about at that moment. Got to take it away, right? Because if she ain't really hungry, she don't care about that. She's still going to play around. But if she want her baby doll back, oh, give me sis, give me her. You want her back, you gonna need to get it. But mommy, nothing. Go do what I said. But she needs, I know she need to go to bed, which is why you need to go do what you need to do so you can put your baby to bed. Mom, Bella. Like seriously, she's way more dramatic than the boys. All right. Chapter 9, page 288. In the 3rd year of dawn, Jehovah spake to Spencer Armige, saying, Gather together the officers of thy traveling host, and take with thee thy companions, and go and visit all the lords and lordesses of the earth of thy appointing, and let thy recorders make their accounts of the affairs of the earth and her heavenly kingdoms, that they may be taken to and entered in the libraries of the Nirvanian kingdoms. Also shalt thou set thy collectors of brides and bridegrooms to work in Creoshavie, and to give thy collectors otivans, that they may also visit thy Lord's kingdoms, and collect all the angels prepared for the next resurrection, and bring them to Creoshavie, where they shall be classified. For in the coming resurrection, thou shalt provide 12 avalanzas, and those who are raised to the Ethereal heavens shalt thou cause to be divided according to their grade and rate, and have them delivered into regions suitable to their advancement. During the time prior to this, the Lords had contributed largely to Creoshavie, and while there were upward of 70-20, I'm sorry, I said that wrong. And already there were upward of 20,000 million angels capable of taking the third resurrection. The departure of Spencer Armige on this visit was important, for it involved the selection of the next succeeding God of earth and heaven, who should sit on the throne during her absence. At this time, the reigning God was with Brahma on earth. To him, Spencer Armige sent messengers acquainting him with the commandments of Jehovah. God answered through his messengers, saying, Greeting in the name of Jehovah to Spencer Armige, his daughter, chieftainess. The reigning God deputed thee, O goddess, to make a selection in his stead to be crowned at the termination of dawn. And now, accordingly, Spencer Armige sent forth her examiners to search after the highest, best, most learned of all that had been raised up of the earth, capable of the Godhead. For 60 days, her examiners were at work, and on the 60th day, in the evening, they had completed the search, and it fell upon Thale of Peola, of corporal birth, 5,000 years. Thale, a tiller of the soil in Corpor, born in spirit in Usan, 90 years, 5 years in Ezion, 30 years in factories, in the nursery, 90 years, in the colleges, 180 years, projector, 70 years, 70 years, surveyor, 65 years, measurer, 200 years, entered an Etherean era Vagna, and traveled 700 years, returned to the lower heavens of the earth, and was Lord in 6 successions for each of the chief earth divisions, 1200 years, was called by Onavisa, goddess of Niyi Agha, and it's spaced out too. Niyi Agha, goddess of Niyi Agha, to clear the roads of Chinshaya beyond Shinvat, where he labored 600 years, returned again to the earth and her heavens, and served as captain and general 400 years, served as marshal 700 years under 4 different gods and lords, and the balance of the time travel as messenger and swift messenger. Of the rates in thousand, he was 999. Wow. Of the rates in 1,000, he was 999, and he knew the whole earth and her capabilities, could read 1,000,000,000 voices at the same time and interpret them and answer them, and even created plateau. He knew the atmosphere in the heavens, habitable and inhabitable, the roadways, the oceans and nebulous regions, knew the ascending and descending eth, knew the power in the different rings of the earth's vortex, knew the Savoricum and its time and places. I would say, dude, well qualified. He might be the next ruling god. Spencer Armige sent a delegation of 1,000,000 angels to wait on Thel and bring him before the throne at Kriyoshavy, sending them in her private otavan and under the guardship of her chief marshal with this commandment. And after sending them in her private otavan, after her, it has reference number 4. And down at the bottom, it says 4, and it just has there the THEIR. I want to connect with you live via video or phone for questions and answers, Series 101. What you did is Series 101? Oahspe? I'm going to keep reading. Okay. Spencer Armige sent a delegation of 1,000,000 angels to wait on Thel and bring him before the throne at Kriyoshavy, sending them in her private otavans and under the guardship of her chief marshal with this commandment. Thel of Peola, greeting to thee in the name of Jehovah, who commanded thy immediate presence at the throne in Kriyoshavy. Of all the honor in these heavens, thou standest first on a list and art appointed by our father, the next succeeding God, through his daughter, chieftainess of Heosati. In my stead thou shalt sit on the throne, whilst I complete my labor in dawn, after which thou shalt be crowned of the earth and her heavens, Jehovah's God. Spencer Armige knew Thel, for he had sojourned in OTS, and after OTS it has reference number 5 at the bottom, and it's OTS, and it's the same word, but it just take the A out. Up here in verse 8, it's spelled OTAIAS, and down at the footnote at the bottom for 5, it says OTSIAS. Alicia, yeah. Okay. Verse 8. Spencer Armige knew Thel, for he had sojourned in Otaeus in Ethera 300 years, where she had been surveyor 10,000 years. So when he came before Jehovah's throne, Spencer Armige was rejoiced to meet him in person. Nevertheless, she first saluted in rank, saying, My brother, welcome in the Father's name, and joy be unto thee. Jehovah have called thee to this throne. Thou shalt be one of the pillars of his everlasting temples. What I put upon thee in the Father's name, thou shalt consider from him. Thel said, Before thee, O Jehovah, I bow to thy decrees, which come through thy high raised daughter, chieftainess of Heosati. I accept whatever is given to me to do that will raise up man to rejoice in his creation. By virtue of thy power in me, O Jehovah, I know I shall not fail. May thy light be upon me. Spencer Armige, now raise the light to the highest atmospheric grade and say it to Thel. Approach Jehovah's throne, O my brother, and hold up thy hands toward high noon as the symbol of the all highest light. As the sun is to the earth and atmosphere, so is Jehovah to the soul of man and to the ethereal worlds. What you looking for, son?
Microwave.
Oh, the last one you checked. They in there? You check? Did you check the dishwasher? Oh yeah, and they could all be being used. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, and the ones that they heated up stuff, the way they heat stuff up with red sauce, I threw them away yesterday. I can't stand that. Okay. I'll read verse 11 again. Where we at? Verse 11, and it's only 19 verses. We almost done. We'll be done for the day. Spencer Armige now raised the light to the highest atmospheric grade and said to Thel, approach Jehovah's throne, O my brother, and hold up thy hands toward high noon as the sign of of the highest light. For as the sun is to the earth and atmosphere, so is Jehovah to the soul of man and to the ethereal worlds. Thel stepped on the foot of the throne, and the marshal stood at his side. The whole council were seated, and sweet music rose from the Essenars and added to the solemn scene. Thel then faced the place of high noon in the temple and held up his hands, saying, I am in thy will, O Father. Jehovah spake in the light over Spencer Armige's head, saying, Thel, my son, thou art my God, and thou shalt have dominion over the earth and her heavens for 200 years. Whatever thou shalt do shall be of me and my doing. Thy word shall be my word, thy labor my labor. And thou shalt have lords and kingdoms and all manner of heavenly places, and all of them shall be my places through thee. And at the expiration of thy service, thou shalt raise up a successor to thee, who shall be worthy of thee and me, and he shall let them have dominion in me and in my places, and in likewise raise up a successor to come after him, and so on until the next dawn of Dan. Okay, so at the beginning of this sentence, and it says, and he shall let them have dominion in me, and after them, it has reference number 6, and at the bottom it says, he shall let them likewise have dominion. I'm gonna just read it all again. Verse 14, page 291 at the top, because it's 2 verse 14s on this page at the top. At the expiration of thy service, thou shalt raise up a successor to thee, who shall be worthy of thee and me, and he shall let them have dominion in me and in my places, and likewise raise up a successor to come after him, and so on until the next dawn of Dan. Be thou joyful in dominion. My worlds are places of delight and mirth and peace, and love and righteousness and good works. The voice ceased, and then Spencer Armige spake on her own account, saying, he who will crown thee will come at the end of dawn. Till then, thou shalt hold dominion in the red hat in remembrance of the feast of lions. Approach the judgment seat, my brother, and I will give to thee in Jehovah's name. With that, Spencer Armige gathered from the colored rays of light a substance light as eth, and made a red hat and put it on Thel's head, saying, sit on the throne in remembrance of the feast of lions, that I may be honored of thee and rejoice before my host. Thel, and it's spelled Thale. That's how his name is spelled, Thel. Thel then sat down on the throne, and the council proclaimed the sign, lion's death. Thel answered in the sign, dominion of the Lamb, Lamb. dominion of the Lamb. Thereupon Spencer Armitage said, Counsel of Jehovah, hear my voice. A new God have I raised up unto my labor, and thou, O God, hear my voice. A new dominion have I given into thy keeping. For 1 year I shall now visit my lords and lordesses in the first plateau of the earth, for it is a part of my labor for the Father. And when I shall have finished with them, I shall return to my present reigning God of the earth, who is with Brahma, and will deliver him and Brahma, and return again to this kingdom, whence the Ethereal resurrection will take place. Provide ye accordingly in all things, even as I were, even as I would were I here, and the number of brides and bridegrooms 160 days in advance, and send swift messengers to Ethera, to the Nirvanian fields and forests in Changashog, and thence through Sakwaka to Haosati in the Etherian Aboram, finding 6 regions suitable for grades from 60 to 90, and ye shall send greeting to my sister, Chuinista, goddess of Oam Buyu, asking her to deliver us. Thus saying, Spencer Armitage and Ox and Siwagan and Heyoa took leave, and in their own proper way departed out of Crayoshavy, and in the Aravagna descended to the lowest plateau, and so visited the lords of the lower kingdoms. And that is where we will pause at today. That was pretty good. All right, so we still seeing and noticing that same trend. The person that graduates the brides and bridegrooms still is looking like it is a female goddess. My mic is muted. I didn't touch anything. Can y'all hear me? Can everybody hear me? Huh? Yeah, go ahead. Shalom, Moni. Can y'all hear me? Somebody would have said something. You okay, Uncle JB, that must be your mic that's muted. Check your mic. Okay. All right, y'all. That's it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So somebody, mom, type in. Tell Uncle JB that's his mic that's muted. But we done anyway, y'all. That was the end of it. We are done. Let me put my page number. Um, maybe Oahspe clicked out. Okay. So you can hear me. Okay. They can hear me on Facebook too. Okay. You can hear me now, Uncle JB. He switched from YouTube and went on Facebook. Okay. So Oahspe College University, I was waiting for you to respond. Maybe he clicked out or something. Maybe not. He said, I want to connect with you live via video or phone for questions and answers, series 101. Okay. So let me give you all my stance on connecting with men, right? I don't. Out of respect for my husband and my own family, not saying there's anything wrong with the guys or y'all are up to shenanigans. So if we need to chat, if my husband is not present, I will not talk to you, right? That's just for protection for me and my family, and also for the male as well. So that's something I just don't do. Go ahead, Isaiah, take it over there. I just don't do it unless my husband is present. So I don't ever want to give off any kind of vibes that just don't look right in any way, shape, form, or fashion, right? I stay away from it by any means necessary, right? And really, anybody that wants to connect with me here, like if we don't already know you as a couple, we don't. And any kind of communication will have to come through email, which my husband has access to at all times, and he can check everything. So we're gonna have to communicate that way, right? Unless we decide to go to Zooms, but when we do Zooms, my husband would have to be present. But because he's not, a lot of times I have to leave out and do stuff. That's why we haven't done Zoom, because he won't be able to be here. So all this is recorded. Everything is just I've seen too many shenanigans happen. Things that start good is I don't ever want to run into that issue, so I just don't. That's no offense towards anybody. Not saying that y'all on shenanigans, because I really don't think you are, but just keep all parties safe. whatever uh, you want to ask questions or whatever, just send them an email and I'll respond that way. You can ask it up here and I'll respond live. Now, the women, it's a different story. Although women sometimes can be up to shenanigans, but I will talk to the women on the phone, right? I've given them my number. We text, whatever, but men, never. I just don't. I'm sorry. Okay. All right. So I'm glad you understand that. So questions, send them to me. We can collaborate that way. All right. All right, beautiful people. So with that being said, this is the end of today. It is Thursday, July the 7th, 2022, day 152 of a year for reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 4-year consecutive day count, day 1170. We continued reading in the book of Spencer R. Mish, daughter of Jehovah in the Oahspe, and we read pages 283 to 292. All right, so remember the new Sabbath for this moon cycle is Wednesday, which is why we were not here yesterday. We took our Sabbath rest, one of the moon's 4 holy days in a month. It was yesterday. So for the next 3 Wednesdays, we will be taking our rest, and so we won't be live on Wednesdays. All right. So with that being said, I ain't really got nothing else to say. May the most holy, the great creator of all, may he bless you all in all that you do and give you wisdom for your life that you can actually hear and comprehend, knowing that that's how he give it to you always. So may you be in a place where you can hear it, assimilate it, understand it correctly, and apply it to your life. And we see it as wisdom when you're operating in it. I love you all. And I see y'all back here tomorrow morning, bright and early, 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bruce.